Okay. Hi, my name is Tara,
And I'm Taylor.
and we're going to be the supervisors from the DRL group, and we're going to be providing feedback to the non-contingent reinforcement group on their training manual for SPCE 691. Has your group had time to review our comments prior to this meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so then we'll start with section 1, the purpose. The purpose was well put together. I think the only feedback we had on that was that we believe the codes that you put were on target for the specific purpose of the training manual. The ethical codes you provided were relevant. 3 additional codes you could put in to consider would be selecting, designing, and implementing behavior change interventions, describing behavior change interventions before implementation, and supervising competence.
Do you want me to go next, Tara? Sorry.
Sorry, I realized I read the green and you're
fine. I just wanted to make sure you're good.
Yeah, we'll just
you're totally fine. I'll just go ahead and read this and then we'll just like flip it back. The reason why we selected that those were the other 3 you guys could tie in is that it helps tie in your other ethics codes and it helps frame your purpose a little bit better for the training manual. Yes, and then for the secondary trainers that are RBTs, they may have aspirations for continuing certification as a BCBA, so we consider using like the related task list items just to be able to like supplement that manual, and then putting in like items H, I, and G are also offered too, and we have like the suggestions I believe on the side. So, but yes. And do you guys have any questions for the purpose section?
No, it looks good.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, we thought the primary trainer qualifications were very appropriate. You might want to consider like slashing this for the RBT certification to like ABA therapist, since now it's not a requirement with insurance companies to be an RBT anymore. And then maybe consider having the second trainer have some type of experience supervising others. Might be beneficial to your training team as a whole.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Are there any questions you have for the trainer qualifications?
I think that's a good point. I think we kind of talked about that too, of kind of like what the expectations are. So I'll definitely tell our group that.
Great.
The next section, is the client and student population. We think that it's great that you guys mentioned that it should be for all children between the ages of 2 and 18. I think we were like really specific and we put like ASD, where we noticed you guys put like all children. So that's actually a pretty good point to have, because it's appropriate for their learning, and it's great that you include their strengths as well. I will say for the caregiver description, I would consider discussing why parents should also be involved in the generalization of programming, just so like that way like a direct care staff who may not know like why we're training on an intervention can understand why it's being generalized from an intervention standpoint, and then it's actually like going across settings, so then like we include them as well. And I was just thinking that would be important. So do you guys have any questions about the client and student population?
No, I think those are good points.
Okay, definitely. For our next 2 sections, we don't really have like any critical feedback. There's some like grammar things in there. There's just like some small comments. I'm not going to go like over them, but they're in there. So the next one is training objectives. Sorry, Tara.
Okay, for the training objectives, it's great to see that you mentioned in your objective that staff should be able to identify the function of attention. I think that's very important. It's also good that you laid out the steps on how to react when the target behavior occurs. For example, you mentioned that staff should be able to identify when to intervene like which popular method is suitable for and appropriately implement non-contingent reinforcement to treat the target behaviors whose function is attention. A group member said that they would recommend that you also include in your training objectives that staff should implement procedures with high treatment integrity and record data with high rates of accuracy, which can be ensured in IOA. Another objective you can add is that staff is more familiar with ABA terminology from this group training. Overall, do you have any questions about the comments on training objectives?
We liked how you said that, like, or how in your training manual, like you guys added the IOA, and even just like kind of furthering defining that, the kind of like the jargon that we see. So I agree. I kind of feel like we can hint on that a little bit.
Great. Yeah, this collaboration is nice. You can learn from others.
Yeah.
So on to section 2. Under modeling, we think your operational definition was clear and concise. Someone outside the field will be able to understand what modeling is from just the description, and that's a great thing to have in a training manual, especially if it's like a manual that can be used across different many settings, companies, people, etc. A group member did say some of the sentences are a little wordy and need to be cleaned up. So there's like one where it's like, when teaching this NCR, we would say more like when teaching NCR, so on. Like that way it's like really clear which one you're talking about. There's no like strange words in between those things, but that's just more of grammar. What was the other one? Replace prove versus like saying research will support this intervention XYZ. That way, like it sounds more formal and it actually like tells the direct care staff like research supports this and this is why. For role play, your guys' literature support was pretty significant. It was great to see like how you guys are like, you've got it well written, you have support and research that backs up what you've written here. They said, however, in the middle of it, there's something about staff attitudes, which is great for role playing, but we don't want to get off topic from role playing. So maybe like cut that down a little bit and reword it. Do you guys have any questions about modeling or role play for this section? Okay. And then PSI is the next one. Sorry, Tara.
You're right.
A group member had put the last sentence of the first paragraph. It says this information was presented on PSI. For some reason, I thought it was wordly stranges, so it's strangely worded. Sorry. And to instead put like recent research supports the PSI as a support, just to make it like again, we're building research into that, making sure that DCS staff or whoever, they know that it's supported by the research that you have in here. Inclusion of limitations are also well presented. So nice job.
Coaching and feedback. It's very nicely written. You connect why feedback is essential in research and how interventions may or not be used correctly, and how to apply them in scenarios outside of training. The research is well connected. However, it seemed to overlook how feedback plays a role and connects to BST. Consider adding why feedback is vital in the role of BST, and that will create a more effective behavior change for direct care staff. Ultimately, the trainer gives feedback, but connecting it to how and when they provide feedback will tie in BST nicely. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. All right, and then we have training acceptability. Right there, so there we go. Okay, training acceptability. Our group felt that you did a really nice job including information from outside studies. I think there was just a couple rewording issues. On the second paragraph, for example, instead of ranging in, change to ranging from, which is quick fix. The information about the PSI is helpful and useful. I guess one group member felt that that didn't belong in this section, so maybe consider moving that to another section in the training acceptability. And then the other feedback we had that were the descriptions of assessments were clear and concise. Are there any questions about these comments?
I don't think so. I think they were clear information that, we can look into revising.
The next one is the training timeline. So your training timeline for week 1 follows a great format, does a great job showing where you'll be using the PSI. The group member that worked on this on our section said that they would suggest that you include more details for each time you'll be using the PSI and focus on describing the 4 different functions of behavior. And a detailed PSI for attention function and PSI for data collection methods, etc. For week 2, training under the guidance for an instructor section, ensure that you use the same bullet points throughout. I don't, for some reason I can't see that other part of what she put, but anyway, do you guys have questions about the training timeline?
What was the first thing you said about like the first part of the training timeline? Sorry, could you say it again?
No, you're fine. It says that she would suggest that you include more details for each time that you'll be using the PSI is what she had placed.
Okay, so like within the actual.
Mm-hmm.
So like what the slides we're going to focus on, kind of, is that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
think
saying?
that's what she's saying. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions about section 2 for our training manual?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. On to section 3. For what are function-based interventions, we think you guys have like a comprehensive and nicely framed overview of function-based interventions. You did a great job in documenting the research in the manner to explaining like what, why, and how and why FBIs are used. We also think that it's excellent that you use an introduction of attention maintained behavior and include it in this section, so it kind of gives like a precursor as to like what your intervention is going to be about. Although the focus of upcoming sections will be on non-contingent reinforcement, consider including a brief overview as well in here. So that way, like it almost like flows into it for later on. That way, like your reader can have like context for what you're about to talk about too.
So we had your overview on non-contingent reinforcement. It was a really nice introduction to what non-contingent reinforcement is. I believe we used a similar definition, so that's we should be using similar definitions since we are science-based. So that's really cool. Maybe provide more background information on what reinforcement schedules are could be helpful to the reader prior to discussing them.
That's a good idea. I think we kind of touched on those more in our PSI. So I think adding that detail here would be good too.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, because you have literature reviews of schedules of reinforcement, but there was no introduction prior to that. Okay, then next we have choosing between differential reinforcement and non-contingent reinforcement.
Yep. There are like some grammar things. Just try not to use pronouns, just use third person language. Overall, you guys do a great job of focusing on like the content that you developed here for trying to choose between differential reinforcement and non-contingent reinforcement. They do think the sentences could be just cleaned up a little bit so that way you can like see the clear difference between the two, but they said overall the content was great. Do you guys have any questions for section 3?
No, looks good.
Okay, we'll move on to section 4. Oh wait, do we? Oh, client outcomes is just a second. Got it.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Do you want to go forward with vocabulary?
Yes. Did I like miss something? Oh, is it vocab then client outcomes? Did I miss that? Okay, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
For the vocabulary and the reference, it's pretty resourceful, and we actually really like it. It's great that you have all the terms listed here, and it's good that the readers or like the people that we're training will often go into this. That way they can have like a quick glossary. So we appreciate your terms and definitions. So nice job.
And a very extensive list.
Yes, it was good.
All right, client outcomes. You did a great job providing behavior definition for throwing. However, you would need to explain soft or hard or like the intensity of throwing. Also for rapid throwing of objects, you mentioned that you need to take duration data. You would need to specify like when duration data would start, like after 10 seconds of rapid throwing, and then when does it end? Like when does the behavior end? We think those details could be helpful for your training group.
I agree with that.
For your single, let me see where I'm referencing. Go on the right part of it. Oh, there we go. For the single subject research, you have a few lines why single subject research is essential. However, when involving direct care staff and caregiver staff, it's important to explain why using single subject research paints a picture for creating evidence-based practice and how it fuels effective decision-making as a practitioner. Also, the graphs that you have are very clean and easily readable. You can clearly see the behavior change in them. So that's really great for your trainees. I think you need to just, for APA reasons, just put an arrow to say like what the behavior is.
Okay.
And then I think that's it. And then the references, Taylor, you want to go ahead with that?
Yeah, your references look great using your APA formatting. It says here that another group member said, make sure to put a space between the second and third reference. I think it was like smushed, yeah, a little bit.
Oh yeah, I see that.
That's, I know, I was like, that was really specific. And your fifth reference starting from Collins S, make sure to italicize the volume number 42. And then make sure to put a space between the 9th and 10th reference. That's really specific, but
Hey, it's helpful.
Helpful, yeah.
yes. Do you guys have any questions for section 4?
No.
I don't.
Okay. On to section 5. For the knowledge and acquisition test, we think you guys had an excellent choice of the type of test. And we thought it was a pretty cool idea that you guys had like hyperlinks were possible. We didn't do that in ours, so it was like a great suggestion that you guys gave us, and it actually like opened my eyes to be like, oh yeah, if they have like a digital of this, they can like go back and reference it, and it'd be a lot easier. There's a good balance of questions. What was the other one? Someone also put, it may be helpful to state whether this is a computer-based or a paper pencil test, as well as where can it be like located, but that was it. So nicely done.
Okay. Then we have the PSI. Our group really enjoyed your PSI. It was very visually appealing, and the explanation on how to use it was easy to understand. And any jargon that you use was explained, so it wasn't that you were just throwing jargon in there. And all your definitions came with really good examples. The training wasn't directed back to the beginning of the module if the question was answered wrong.
Oh, good to know. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, because we did put those links in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We'll fix that.
We were just taken to the next question.
Okay.
Oh, that's tricky. All right, and then we had modeling. For modeling, I think just for scenario purposes, it might be good to, or our group thought it would be good to list like what kind of attention they were getting. So for one section, they were all different, so they were very diverse. But for one, it was just edibles and praise. Another one was just praise. It could be helpful to like paint a clearer picture of the scenario.
That makes sense.
Your examples were very diverse, and they each differently express how you can implement non-contingent reinforcement in different scenarios. So it was very thoroughly explained, and it was a good range of scenarios as well. Okay. Then we have role play.
Well done starting off the section by talking about the importance of role play and when it shouldn't and should be used for our trainers when they need to jump in. Awesome job integrating treatment fidelity checklists. It's important to make sure the treatment is being practiced and implemented. The group member that was in this section said they would recommend that in addition to providing scenarios, you also provide your trainers with a script. It may help them learn with an example of a script and practice the correct behavior, almost like errorless teaching in a way. And then once they're able to demonstrate the skill effectively with confidence, then they can be continued without a script. For the next part, for coaching and feedback. Here we go. Your coaching and feedback treatment fidelity system is simple and easy to understand and score. I would add a section at the end of the tick to ensure that the score is visible. Like when I looked at the appendix part of it, there wasn't like a place to put like, if there's like so many steps, it didn't say like put a score of like 8 out of 9 and then like your percentage or whatever. So it'd be good to have that. So that way it's like a visual to the person that they're doing this with, that they're like, okay, well, I got this score. How do I improve? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The steps and like their percentage.
Mhm.
Oh, and then also it would be great to see like what you do to help like maintain their skills. So, like once they've been trained, they've been on the floor, they pass their treatment integrity checks. Like what do we do to like further like their knowledge in the area and be able to like go from there. Also, I don't know if like I read this wrong, but I want to make sure the staff should have more opportunities than twice to demonstrate a skill before seeking further action. You provide like a lot of role playing and demonstrating of skills, but everybody learns differently. So like what if you had like an intensive training or something like that they had to like go through? So maybe it's like after 2 or 3 weeks of them not making or mastering a skill, maybe we could have further action. But that's just my thoughts on that.
That's a good idea.
Okay. And then we had Appendix 3 feedback. Our group felt that the content you provided was very clear and that it supported non-contingent reinforcement. It also explains other types of reinforcement strategies well. Our group felt that this would definitely give teachers and paraprofessionals vast knowledge of the application of these strategies in classrooms and different work settings. So it's very nice. And we have, and then we have the training acceptability tools. The assessment for group training methods is easy to follow and easily understood. We like that you stated the results are confidential, hoping for honest answers. We like that you left spaces for any additional comments, so, excuse me. And it was a great how you switched up the way the questions and statements are presented in both tools. All right, do we have any questions on this is section 5?
I don't think so. Thanks for your feedback.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Sometimes you can look at something for so long and you miss a bunch of details that can be really important.
I felt the same way. When you have those fresh eyes on there,
Yeah.
things are able to get cleaned up. All right. Yeah, we hope that our group has only enhanced your training manual. We thought it was very, very well written. Obviously, it wasn't an easy task to be done. So great job.
Nice
Thanks,
job.
guys.
Mhm.
Okay. So I can go on and I guess stop sharing.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Let me make sure I pull up yours and not mine. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you only see one document or do you see everything?
We see everything.
Yeah, that's weird. Hold on, let me try again.
You're okay.
Had to stretch mine out.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, is it doing the whole thing again? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah,
You're
that's
good.
better.
I was like, wait a second. Okay, let me head to the top. Okay. Also, this is what I have up was something I mean, I was like looking on this, so I added like a couple little notes for myself on here too. So those aren't necessarily entered in your initial feedback, but so first off, we felt like your training manual was really well done. And we really liked it. And I think it was really good for our group to see kind of a similar training that's like written as ours was. And I think it kind of helped us see some things that we want to change as well. So like kind of like you guys said, there's some like random little typos, but we won't kind of go into all those different details. So here, one of our group members kind of said about like expanding on your task list items, but that was kind of optional anyway too. So for the primary trainer, one of our group members was saying like, based on like BCBAs being certified and when they're like eligible to actually supervise, maybe thinking about like training, like a specific training intervention method for them. And for the secondary trainer, also kind of maybe defining better more like what is new, kind of like a 2-year person that's new or kind of someone that just tested and passed their test and that's like entering the field. And then also kind of just with, I guess like proficient can be kind of vague if you're using that. So like what does proficient look like or kind of what does that feel like for your trainer? Andrew, you want to do the client population or student population, or you want me to?
I can do it. One of our group mates commented that she really likes the population. It's geared towards individuals with autism, but have you guys thought about including other populations with disabilities instead of only those with ASD? Is there like a specific reason you guys chose that? Is that mainly?
Yeah, I think we chose that because obviously people with autism have a lot of comorbidities. So it is, I guess we could list that and be more inclusive. I think we just wanted to narrow down that we were just treating people with autism.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. But I could see how like adding the comorbid disabilities would be beneficial too. This next one, I think it was more of just like a little bit of confusion on this comment, but I personally think that it's fine that you guys said it's not gender specific, because that is very true. Even though statistics show that males are more often diagnosed, that doesn't mean that females are not.
Okay.
So I would just, I think I would leave that. I think that's,
That comment
yeah,
right there.
I agree. Females are widely underdiagnosed.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
It's funny.
Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's funny. I work between 2 different clinics, and we have one clinic that's primarily males, and the other one is pretty much all females, which is crazy to me. So
That
Yeah.
is crazy.
yeah, I didn't take that comment like personally or anything, but I was almost like, well, I don't know how true this is in my world, because in my world I see it the other way. So
Right, definitely. And I know that's like a small sample, but that just shows that it's
Yeah.
definitely not gender specific. Okay, and then next one, it's the sentence, individuals with ASD often have strengths that also serve as their weaknesses. It says indirect comment without content, but like if you read the whole thing, it does flow, but maybe the sentence structure could be rearranged where you start with like oftentimes individuals with ASD have, etc. Like you would just go in and maybe just like kind of reverse that sentence.
That makes sense.
Let's see.
Your setting looked good. With your staff description, this also looked good. I think these were more kind of like minor things. And we also liked how you said like professional certifications, not just RBTs and things like that. I think that matters too. For the training objectives for the direct care staff, first off, I felt like this was really well written. I think you guys did a really good job. If I click right here, can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing happens like in a good way. So
Okay, good. I was just making sure because I have like my notes on the side. So I think you guys did a really good job with all of the detail that you guys added. I think kind of like I was saying how you guys mentioned about ours. I liked how you talked about like that behavioral terminology, looking at like specific escaped maintained behaviors. I also really agree with how you did the IOA data and adding that in. I think that's something that our group should kind of revise and add to our project as well. I think you guys had the section really detailed and it was really thorough. So I really liked that. Also, one of our group members here just said it's really important to make sure that we're accurately, providing data and recording data accurately. I think this is a really big thing. Even kind of, I'm in the school system and, some of our parapros are taking data and they've just never been taught. And so that's understandable, but sometimes I'll look and I'm like, that's wrong. Like I know this child and I know they can or cannot do this. So I think that's a really good objective to add there.
Okay, starting on section 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think there were just like a few citation errors that they mentioned, and that with the overview, you might consider consolidating some of the information instead of trying to stretch it out. So one of our group mates said it may be beneficial to group each of the topics together instead of having 2 sections for some. So like the BST, PSI, modeling. Some of the information provided in each separate section is repetitive when explaining, so grouping them and going through the explanations of each topic may be beneficial for the flow.
We went back and forth with this. We kind of agree as well that we could maybe sum this up a little bit better as it is just an introduction. So we can totally see how that's repetitive for sure.
Yeah, I think you guys had a lot of good points there too.
Absolutely.
But it's also hard because things like modeling and like role play, like they kind of all link together. So it's kind of hard to also separate them. So I feel like how you guys did separate it, I know it took a lot of thought because you're like, I want to get these all specific. So
I always struggle with that because I'm very much a let me group this here, rather than putting it all together. So I can definitely see why you guys chose to do that.
I think
Yeah.
the other reason too is because like BST is like that 4-step process, right? So you have like the instruction, then you have like the modeling, the role play feedback. So I think if like, heaven forbid that whoever's training this has BST experience, but if they don't, how do you paint that picture? I think that's the other reason why we grouped it too. It's like,
Yeah.
say the secondary trainer is doing it, like, can they visually see this? Like, but that's the only reason that I think that's why we did it, honestly.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't remember what we went back and forth on.
Yeah.
We probably talked about it too. So
In the modeling, there's one sentence, modeling is used in numerous educational settings, particularly with ensembles. We just didn't know exactly what that meant.
I think that's a typo error. We have to talk to our group member that wrote this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless that is a word that's commonly used in his environment. But maybe we can change it so it's easily understood.
Yep.
Another point our group member had was maybe discussing why modeling is important rather than just simply stating it is important. Maybe just explain what its benefits are.
We agree.
Yeah.
We definitely will. Thank you for all the feedback on here. We'll clean this up a lot.
You guys have done a great job. We only have a few.
Yeah,
few
it looks
feedback.
like a lot here, but it's really just minor.
Yes, very minor.
One thing that we talked a lot about as we were going through our project was we kept saying, like kind of in this first sentence where you put teachers, we kept saying like all different types of people within our training. And then we went back and we were like, okay, like we just need to make sure that each person for us, for our training, it says like direct care staff. So maybe kind of like considering like thinking about being consistent with different people or where the setting is and things like that. But we really struggled with that. We had to like go back and really read it to make sure we were kind of consistent with that.
For sure, it's just one collaborative piece, so we definitely need to be consistent. And it is geared towards direct care staff, so it's an excellent point.
Definitely. Yeah, so some of these are just talking about your citations.
A couple are like sentence structure, which these flow to me. They're easily understood.
Okay, we're gonna keep going.
Oh, there's one comment. Sorry, Lindsay. It's in the role play. It says when working with children with disabilities can be a stressful job. One of the comments was in the client population section, it states that they're all students with ASD, which yes, is a disability, but now we're talking about like disabilities as a whole or like specifically ASD in that section too. So maybe just clarify that. I feel like that would be an easy change too.
Yeah, we can, this is all very helpful feedback that we can relate back to this particular group member, and we can work together on cleaning it up. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, go ahead, Lindsay. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Sorry, I was like, wait, where is she seeing that? Sorry, it's a little jumpy. Okay, so for the PSI, the only thing I had to say about this section is maybe kind of talk about how PSI is used a little bit like more functionally. So just because like, we did create our own PSIs and went through that process. So maybe like I think your research is really good and really well described, and maybe just saying like during this training, this is how we're going to use PSI and this is what it's going to do for us specifically. But I think that section was really well written with all their citations. As we continue, we were really, our group was really giving a lot of praises just about how your limitations were really well written. And I agree. I think you guys did a really good job of kind of pointing out some true limitations that, we might actually really struggle with. So I think you guys were really detailed in that section.
Yeah, those can be really hard to do.
Yeah.
Limitations can be hard to pinpoint sometimes. So y'all did an excellent job with that.
Thanks. My manager, I asked her several times about this section, and she was like, well, just think about like what we do every day, and like as a trainer, like what do you see? And I was like, wow, that's so much more helpful than like trying to make something up or like try to pull a bunch of things together.
That's
Yeah.
an excellent point.
Yeah, it's easier than we think it is.
Yeah, it's important to know what limitations exist with a behavior change implementation you're doing, because if you don't know them, then how can you avoid them?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
I think here was just like a typo role
Yeah.
modeling.
My bad.
No, it's okay. We also gave a lot of praises about the training acceptability section. This was really well detailed. And I think you guys did a really good job with kind of making it accessible to, a variety of people, a variety of different qualifications, as well as, with different reading levels and, all things like that. I think you guys, this was really well written.
Absolutely. Your training timeline was super detailed, which we need to learn from you guys. That was awesome. We will definitely apply that to ours.
Mhm.
And that was helpful to see that.
Yeah, she did an amazing job on that.
Like a very detailed oriented
Very
person.
detailed.
Yeah, well, she did awesome.
Wait, sorry, my Zoom just like moved a little. I'm just gonna stop sharing. Okay, I was just making sure it was still recording. It just scared me, sorry.
That's okay. Good to know, then be halfway done and not
Yeah,
know.
it just like moved. And I was like, wait, is it still recording? Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think when I was even looking at yours, I was like, oh wow, I like how you guys added just like those extra details compared to where we just kind of like talked about our slides.
Yeah.
It also gives the trainee like an idea of like what they're supposed to be learning. So if they have questions about a specific topic, they can go back and kind of remember where it was in the training rather than like slides wise.
Yeah, it's a great reference point.
Okay, section 3. Okay, I think you just had some minor citation things. We liked how you included the seat. We use that too.
Yeah, we saw that in yours.
I think it's a good acronym to kind of help remember that. One thing that someone said was like maybe to put like this acronym at the beginning. So maybe you could kind of go back and like add FBA up top just to make it flow later on.
Right, so you're not repeating it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Here, I feel like you guys did a really good job of even kind of, giving common examples of behaviors that are maintained by escape. So I thought that was well done there.
Yes, yeah, for sure. It's really good examples.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that table was different until someone pointed it out, so thank you.
Yeah, don't think I would have noticed that. Scroll back up.
That's good. Good feedback.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so here, with this one, this was kind of just like another wording. And we thought you did a really good job with the DRL, kind of explaining each example, even with kind of explaining like why it could be used. And I think breaking it down like this really gives good information and just really visual examples of how DRL is used.
Yeah, it really brings it to life, like you can picture it.
Again, you guys did a really good job with the limitations here too. And it was well written. Okay, page 31. Okay, so I think here there were just like a few more of those citation typos, and then maybe just like a sentence not finished there.
Which section are you on? Overview of non-contingent reinforcement.
Yes, page
Yeah.
31.
And then I think there's just like a couple words where it needed to be maybe just described a little more. Like this sentence says NCR can be a potent intervention.
Yeah, it just means like strong, but we can
Right.
change that word.
Right. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. Wandering on my computer.
Yeah, I wrote this section, so I guess I didn't complete that sentence on the end. So thanks for pointing that out.
It happens to us all.
Wow,
Absolutely.
when you look at something for so long, like you said earlier.
Yes. But this was really well written too. I think you did a really good job of explaining, and it was kind of cool to see your explanation versus kind of what we were writing too.
Right. Yeah, it was cool.
Compare those.
Okay. Andrew, you want to talk about this one?
Which one are we on?
33 ableism.
Oh yeah, sure. Let me scroll to this comment. Something's going on with my computer and everything just got really small, so I'm having to.
I can keep going if you want me to.
I think I've got it. Okay, yeah. This was really good information that you guys provided on ableism. So in other words, ableism is treating individuals with disabilities differently than individuals without disabilities. Ableism is thinking people that have disabilities cannot do the same things that people without disabilities can do. So you guys did a great job defining that and giving explanation for that.
Sorry, you guys were really good about asking if we had any questions as we went through. Do you guys have any questions or anything?
No, I think if we did, we've been voicing it, so it's
Okay,
okay.
I just want to make sure. Okay, I think here is just like a little quotation.
With no citation. Mhm.
Oh, the citation I think is missing for the quotation.
Oh,
Okay, our next section. We really liked how you ordered this alphabetically. That looked really nice and just like clean. And as well as like the format of how you guys did your definitions. So I like how like it's in bullet points here, so you kind of know what you're looking at. And then I think this is just really a clean way to view it all.
Sorry, we didn't.
In blue.
So we had to resubmit. So I forgot to change them back to black. So we were showing the professor which ones we changed.
Okay, gotcha.
a couple of you that said that, and I was like, oh, oops.
Yeah. I was like, I'd never turn them back black. Okay.
I was actually trying to like put together like maybe like a pattern. I was like maybe every 5 or like.
So sorry to do that to you.
No. But I think this looks really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, someone else said it too.
Yeah.
So we're just,
like, huh.
Yeah, we're just throwing that into the mix.
Laughing, and you guys are like, we don't get it. We don't get it.
I didn't realize I didn't clean that up before I sent that over. I apologize.
No, that's good. No big deal. That's an easy fix too. For client outcomes, it says see appendix, and it doesn't say which one. And I don't think there's a hyperlink. No.
Oh yeah, I think we didn't realize where the appendix would be yet. So thank you for directing us back to correct that.
Yeah, we did that same thing. We had to like when we went back to like figure out where all the hyperlinks were, we had the same problem. So.
Yeah, it's those little details, but we appreciate it being pointed out.
Yeah. One of our group members said that was a good non-example here. And your graphs look really good. And I was going to mention, both of us made the graphs. So we were like, oh man.
Yeah, I forgot to mention there's the client name as well. Need to be added to yours, but.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good point. But your graphs look really good, and this information was really detailed too. And then one of our group members said to make sure you have like a hanging indent for your references.
Yeah, I think we didn't realize that when, you know how like off Google Docs,
Yeah,
formats change. So thank you for pointing that out.
definitely.
Because I noticed it after I read the comment. I'm like, darn.
Like, come on. We did the same.
At least it's not content stuff. It's literally just formatting. Y'all did an awesome job. With your
Yeah, but
content.
sometimes you need outside people to point that kind of stuff out. So we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And I think you guys just have like a couple of spacing, just like we did too. Okay, sorry. It's making me feel dizzy going so fast. So one of our group members said you could hyperlink the questions if you wanted to each area.
That's amazing. You guys did that, and we really like that idea.
And your questions were really well written too. I think you guys did a really good job. Our next part. Andrew, you want to talk about the PSI, or you want me to?
Can you do that really quickly? I'm having to be muted for just a second. Sorry.
That's okay. So your PSI, we thought it was really good and really well written and had a lot of details in it. The only thing that we would say maybe is to like have less words on the side. But I think you guys had really good information, and it was just, I get it. There's just like there's so much to say. So I think you guys did a really good job with your PSI though. I liked it. And everything checked out for me on it. All the links worked. So.
Okay, sorry. My dogs are barking, so I was trying to mute that so you guys get hear it. Your video modeling, that was awesome that you guys chose to do that. We did the script version, so your videos were excellent and helpful.
Yeah, for a second I got scared that we didn't do the videos.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, did we forget a whole section? And then
like all I talked about was video modeling, so I had to do the videos.
Yeah, I think your video about modeling examples were really good. And I feel like sometimes they can be kind of hard when you're like overthinking it as we're adults acting it out. But I think that was a really good job. I think one of our group members said that this is hyperlinked here.
Yeah, that might just be an error.
Okay. For your scenarios, one of our group members said it was a great idea to introduce the scenario before expecting the trainees to kind of jump into the role playing. And I think that's a really good idea too. I think kind of providing that other information and that feedback kind of before they just like jump in to start saying things. So that was a really good idea to add that detail. We did think that this whole section though, that whole last section, which we know was a lot of work, it looks really good. You guys were really thorough and did a really good job with that.
Thank you.
I think the rest is pretty much just some citation stuff.
Yeah. Continue to look at your citations. And then with your appendix, this looked really good, and it was kind of cool to see how yours varied from how we did it, with ours being like a whole chart and yours being like separate questions. I kind of like that format of how you guys kind of like took a different turn with it.
Yeah, I wrote this section for our group project, and I went back and forth between the two formats. So I definitely like this one. It looks good.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good idea too, of kind of like writing down your questions as you go. And I think that's something that we can take into ours as well.
Oh, that's just our group contract.
Okay, cool. So do you have any questions about feedback or anything?
I don't have any questions. I really appreciate the feedback. It's good to learn from one another. I really liked working in my group, but it's nice to get outsiders' opinions on our work. For sure, it's very beneficial.
Like you said, a fresh set of eyes can open up a whole new ideas and things to expand on or fix. So it's very helpful to get feedback from others.
I think it's cool to see us like doing like a similar project too. And like, while it's not all the same content, like the ways that we did it differently. I think that was kind of beneficial for us to see, and even for us as a group to be able to kind of provide that feedback to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, Taylor.
Maybe try to like reconnect your audio.
Oh no.
Okay. I think Taylor agrees. I want to speak for Taylor.
Okay,
But...
Give us a thumbs up.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay, I don't even know what was happening. Anyway, I was saying, I agree with what you guys are saying. I think a lot of the times, like, this project is so like heavy in content and what we're trying to develop, and then like the weeks get blurry on like what we're doing. So it's good to like have your guys' feedback and like then seeing both of our things like side by side to be able to make those decisions, and you guys being open and honest to give us that feedback. So
Definitely.
thank you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, and I'll make sure it worked and everything.